All right, we should be live for the Steelers Depot live stream here on October 26th. Let me go ahead and make sure I have everything muted. 1 second. All right, mute that. All right, we are here. As always, myself, Alex Kazora, and Dave Bryan from Steelers Depot. Dave, how you doing?
Doing good. Happy Monday, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Happy Monday. We have a ton of questions already, a lot of people in the chat already, so I appreciate that. Hopefully we can get to every single question today. The way to guarantee your question will be asked and answered by us is to send us a super chat, which you guys can see below. It can be any amount, but that'll be the way to ensure it because we already have a pretty full house here already, and making sure everyone can hear us okay. Hopefully everyone can hear us. I assume that you can. All right, Dave, let's jump right into it with the first question. Michael Galeppo says, always making us sweat, but glad for a W. We are to Michael. Question, was this a sighting of road bend or simply an off day against a good team? But gotta love that early shovel pass to Ebron. Yeah, if Mahomes makes that play, we're seeing that on SportsCenter for the next 12 hours. So I don't think it was road bend. I think that there were just a couple weird, quirky things. I think overall Ben's done a good job this year. I would not put that in the same vein as some of the other road bend games from past years.
Yeah, look, one interception was tipped at the line of scrimmage. One was, even though you can question the decision to go deep. I mean, he's trying to hit a deep ball late in the half. You know, obviously that didn't result in points, but it did result in some momentum there. And then, obviously the last one, trying to thread the needle there. And if you slow that thing down on the tape, if you go back and you look at the all 22 one, you can understand what he saw, why he threw it
Mm-hmm.
there. The thing is, and he even admitted this after the game, was it needs to be a little bit higher and probably a little bit, to his right a little bit there to make it a little bit more perfect throw. If Juju catches that, we're talking about how great of a catch it is. If that gets deflected and just incomplete and they kick a field goal there, are we even talking about the decision to throw the football there? It's a play that's very, very results biased. Now, if you want to take any issue with the play, Ben wasn't on target, 100% on target on a lot of those throws.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the biggest takeaway. I don't view it as quote unquote road Ben.
Yeah, I don't either. John Pennington, this is from 515, so I'll get into some questions from a while ago. Dave and Alex, do you think Ben's passes are low that they are being tipped to the line of scrimmage? And do you think Hayden and Nelson are slow that neither could close the distance on Brown's touchdown? So low and slow, the questions here. With Ben, there may be some sort of an arm ankle thing. I think honestly it's mostly teams recognizing that Ben gets the ball out of his hands so quickly. I'll have an article in the morning on Steelers Depot that illustrates just how few times he's been sacked this season, only 8 through the first 6 games of the year. So I think they're really just anticipating that and knowing the ball is going to get out quickly. And Simmons had batted a couple balls this year already. Hayden and Nelson are by no means 4-4 type of guys, but Brown's a freaky dude that's hard for anyone to catch when he's in the open field. So I don't know if that's the representation of them being slow. I think Brown is just incredibly fast and a very long strider. Mike Adesso, hi Dave and Alex, great podcast today, guys. Thank you, Mike. Dave, I know you mentioned this before, but so excuse my COVID brain. What makes a run successful, 4 yards or more? Can you break down what is a successful run play, Dave?
Yeah, and I don't know, Alex. Do you use the Football Outsiders method of the 4.5 or and the 60%? I guess it depends on what you look at. The latest study that I've gone by, I think from Chase over at Football Perspective, is 40% of a first down run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if it's 1st and 10, a 4-yard run or more is a successful run. On 2nd down, 50% of the yardage needed. So, or 6 or more yards. Okay. So if the run's longer than 6, if any run is longer than 6 yards, it's a successful run. But specifically, if you're looking at 2nd and 10, 50% would obviously be 5 yards. 3rd and 4th down, obviously the amount of yardage needed for a first down or 6 or more yards. So any run that's 6 yards or more, you have to view it as a successful run. Otherwise, then you go by the percentage of the down there. So in other words, third 3rd and 2. If you get 2 yards, I mean, it's a first down. It's a successful run. That's just the easiest way to do it, and this has kind of changed over the years. It used to be like 45% of first down. It used to be 60% of second down, and then obviously 100% of third or fourth down. I like to use 40%, 50%, 100%. And then as Chase recently added into there, 6 or more yards on any run is a successful run. You can't penalize a running back for getting more than 6 yards and not being successful.
Yeah, a 15-yard run on 3rd and 18 is still successful.
Sure.
From the running back's standpoint, for sure. Verdon Barzy says, can't wait to see Pittsburgh Dad on this game. Yeah, Pittsburgh Dad's always good, getting me through 2020 with some of the post-game reaction videos. Captain Nub says 6-0, baby. 6-0 indeed. It's last unbeaten in the NFL. Slumpy Boy with an eye to next year saying, what position will we address in this year's draft? Personally, I have DB, offensive tackle, edge, and quarterback. Why do the Steelers always blow leads? Culture thing or just complacency? We can't have this next week. To the first question about the draft, we'll see. Long ways to go. I could see an offensive tackle. I could see a tight end. Let's just see who all gets retained and does not get retained in free agency. And to the question of why they blow leads, I mean, specifically to yesterday, when you're -3 in turnover differential, you're rarely going to win by multiple scores. And so some freaky things happen. It's frustrating for sure, but the Steelers, as you know, just rarely win these games big. And it's a good Titans team, too. Let's give it. Ryan Tannehill had led the league in game-winning comebacks or game-winning drives and fourth-quarter comebacks. I mean, they're built for coming from behind.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, it's just look, NFL games mostly for the most part are a little bit closer now, you know. It was a little bit too close. You could feel that one getting away a little bit though, and 3 turnovers absolutely does not help the matters in that, you know.
Absolutely. Good crowd on hand here. Thank you guys for being here. Again, Dave and I are here till 8 p.m. And if you want to ensure your question gets asked, as Russ Obenstein has, you can send a super chat. So thank you, Russ, for the super chat. He asks, hi guys, do you see anybody to possible pick up to help losing Bush? Or do you think, as I do, we won't need to? So asking about any Devin Bush replacements. My guess is they're going to stand pat. Unless things really go sideways against Baltimore on Sunday, I think they're going to roll with the group they have.
Yeah, I really am not saying, you know, obviously it's hard to predict trades and all like that, you know, not knowing who's being floated out there and all. But as Alex and I talked, I think again on the podcast this morning, it's generally if the Steelers are going to target somebody, it's somebody that they know, they like. A lot of times that person's already been in their building, as we've seen in the past. Either that or they really liked the kid at a pro day and just never had a chance to draft him or anything like that. So with all that kind of noted there, the two that really scream possibility would be the kid with the Jets. What's his
Avery Williamson.
Yeah, Avery Williamson, or the Lions linebacker Jared Davis, because the Steelers were at that pro day there. I think they may have even had him in for a pre-draft visit as well. There, you know, on top of it, those, in my opinion, even though I don't think it's going to happen, if it was, those two names would be on the top of the list there.
Yeah, Jared Davis came in the same day as a couple other really good players. Chris Godwin came in that day as Jared Davis. James Conner came in that day. So a couple of good players from that visit they had with Jared Davis. I think that would be the top name on the list if they go out there and acquire somebody. But I just don't think it's going to be in the cards. Steeler fan 1933. Hi guys, Matthew's article today about Henry praising the Steelers front suggested that his successful run rate was either 40 or 45%. Do you know what it was for the season coming into Sunday? I don't know if you do, Dave, but I imagine it was probably pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know what it was for the season, but I can tell you what it was, if you give me just a minute here, what it was for against the Steelers. I mean, look, the guy he's a racehorse, man. I hate to refer to him as a thoroughbred, but when you watch him run, man, that's definitely what it seems like with him. I'm trying to find out what, let's see, he had 20 carries, 75 yards.
Well, while you do that, I was a super chat, no question here, but we appreciate it all the same from a bunch of drama in Pittsburgh, $2.99. Super chat, feel free to ask a question if you want to in future ones, but thank you for that, Dave, and I appreciate it. I don't know if you have the number on the
Yeah, I'm trying to
successful run
find
rate.
it here,
All right,
Alex.
let me get to the
All
next
right.
one, and then I'll come back to that here in a moment. Mike Adesso also says Ray McLeod. Colbert sure does deserve some kudos for this pickup. Man, imagine this team with Switzer in the same roles on special team and offense. Yikes, what a difference he's been. I think that's well said, Mike. McLeod has certainly given some energy and boost in the return game, and also on some of the jet plays and things like that. Certainly, Ryan Switzer probably was not going to be able to do, but I do want to give credit to the blocking, because I think in the punt and kick game, the blocking has been worlds better this year compared to the last several years.
Let's see, 9 of 22 runs, 40.9% by the Titans were successful, and really most of those runs obviously were Derrick Henry. And I think I had the stat the other night of heading into last night all season long, he had just 5 runs, I think, that resulted in tackles for loss. And I know T.J. Watt had at least two tackles for loss in that game, and it seemed like there might have been another 1 or 2 in that game as well too.
Yeah, did a really good job overall. It's tough sledding against Henry, especially later in the game, as you pointed out, Dave. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the performance of this run defense, because they're stacking up better than almost any team in football. Mutated Genome says, do you like the running back rotation? Is McFarland getting enough touches? He's more explosive than Connor. I think he needs more touches. I'm sure they'll come, but Connor's running well. The run game's doing well. I don't have a lot of complaints right now, to be honest with you, Mutated Genome. Let's see, Mike Adesso saying MVP from yesterday, offense and defense. Who would you have as the MVPs from both sides of the football, Dave?
Oh, offense probably. I mean, geez.
Deontay?
Juju or Deontay did a lot. Deontay should have caught a couple more balls, so I'm going to give it to Juju, because I thought, look, I even think you posted, I think, the video on Twitter of him running that route. Kind of the hesitation and the setup on that big catch, low catch down the field. I think it was there. So I would give it to Juju on offense, and then obviously I think I'd give it to Vince Williams on the defensive side of football.
Yeah, I think that's fair on both of those. I'll go Deontay on offense, though. Double HH Steelers are getting love in the national media. Makes me nervous, but it is pretty cool. Yeah, when Colin Cowherd's talking good about you, as he did today, I do get a little nervous as well.
Yeah, but that doesn't control anything. It's fun to circle, and it's fun. You always want to kind of set up. I understand the fan aspect of it, of us against the world kind of mentality here. But in a long short look, I mean, eat it up. I mean, 6-0. I mean, this has only happened once in my lifetime, and I'm an old fart, So yeah, live it up. But yeah, I wouldn't take it as a slight or a bad thing, or because the media is talking about it. Heck, they're the last undefeated team this season right now in the National Football League. So eat it up, enjoy it.
Yeah, first time in team history they've been the last of the undefeated teams entering a new week. Jeff Smecker says, love Steelers Depot. Was hoping there'd be video. I've always wanted to know what Dave looked like. Sorry, Jeff, but I'm glad you're enjoying the show. We appreciate it, and glad you could be here. I think that's a pretty new name for the live stream.
I look like a catcher. I look like a catcher's mitt with eyes.
Oh, Dave, give yourself some credit. You're a married man.
I have been put to bed wet too many times.
Rode
hard, put to bed wet.
A bunch of drama says, do you think Spillane is athletic enough to cover Mark Andrews of the Ravens this week? I would generally say no. I mean, we'll see. We'll get a pretty good gauge for how those matchups could be, but that on paper, the way you're describing it would give me some concern.
The good thing is he's got a little bit of size to him. He's not that. How tall is he, Alex?
6'2".
2?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Something like that. And normally those Steelers inside linebackers are like 5'11" or 6 foot, or something like that. So he's got a little. Look, I still think people. Now look, is he this athletic specimen? No, but I think he can still move a little bit there. So look, we're going to find out in certain situations, especially I think on some early down situations there. I think the Ravens would be smart to try to target Spillane and try to get Spillane to try to run with Andrews. And Andrews is a beast, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a damn good tight end. He can move down the field, and he can combative catch as well too. So long story short, we don't know, but I have a feeling we're going to find out. And as Alex and I said, really going into this game, these next two games, this game against the Titans and the Ravens, we're really going to learn a lot about Robert Spillane and what his limitations are, and how the Steelers, effectively use him, especially on sub-package downs. We saw Ulysses Gilbert get put into the game, and about 14 snaps or somewhere around that. So yeah, do you want him out there for 100% of the snaps moving forward? Probably not, but we're going to get a good look at him against the Ravens, I have a feeling.
And to be fair to Spillane, any linebacker in Mark Andrews, even Devin Bush, is going to
Sure.
have his problems. So, I mean, he's just a freaky dude. That's hard to just put one guy on him and say that's going to solve it. It's generally not how it works against Andrews.
Right, and it's easy to, whatever happens in the game, it's going to be easy. If it doesn't go well, it's going to be easy for people to say, well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's all Spillane's fault.
Right. Steeler fan 1933 says, less cowbell, more like button, Steelers Nation. He has a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat and donation. Appreciate your support.
You people, make sure you get on the Twitter machine and Facebook as well too. We're going to be. I really would like to see somebody who's a regular in these live streams. We're going to give away a total of, I think, 4 SI cover metal prints there, and they're really nice. I ordered one to the house just to see what they look like. A couple of them TJ Watt, a couple of them Juju Smith-Schuster here. So make sure you get on Twitter and Facebook and follow the rules of the contest, because I'd really like to see somebody win that this Saturday.
Speaking of Steelers memorabilia, how about Mike Tomlin revealing he has a Jack Lambert jersey framed in his house? Heard that on the Mike Tomlin show this week. That's pretty cool. That's a very cool Tomlin touch.
Yeah, and what was the other one? Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm.
I think he said an autograph there, and some I think a Joe Louis fight poster or something like that.
I didn't know Tomlin was a boxing guy, but that fits very much in the Rooney family. The Chief used to go 10 rounds back in his day. Double HH, I skipped this one. I want to go back to it here quickly. My question to Alex and Dave: why is it harder protecting a lead in today's NFL than catching up from behind? Across the league each week, it seems mostly the case. Offenses are scoring more. They're up 3 points on average from last year. 25 points per game this year, 22 and a half I think it was last year. So offenses are potent, they're explosive, and points are up in the NFL.
Look, the other team gets paid too, right? In today's NFL, it's wide open. Defense is obviously at a disadvantage more than ever in today's NFL. And as I put out on Twitter a little while ago, the most glaring stat right now about the Steelers defense, I think, is the fact that they've given up 4 plays of 40 yards or longer, and 3 of those have ended with a guy standing in the end zone with a touchdown there. And last year, I think they had 6 all season of plays of 40 yards or longer and only 1 touchdown. So if you want to kind of boil this thing down to where some of the issues are right now, especially one that would directly impact that stat that I love, which is the adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat, which still isn't bad. I think the Steelers are like 5.1 now, still around some of the best in the league. But if you talk about a 40-something yard completion that ends up in the end zone, that's really going to have an impact on that stat through just 6 games played here. So the offense opposing offenses get paid too. There's just a great plethora of athletes in the NFL for sure that can run.
And I think that kind of addresses a question from Levi Garcia, who says, Dave and Alex, despite the up and down, what do you think is causing this team to not play complete? Seems like offense or defense shows up, but why not both more consistent? I think both have been pretty good overall, but I think allowing some of those big chunk plays, yesterday a great example of that, of Tennessee getting back into the game because he allowed that 73-yard, real quick score to A.J. Brown. That one helped change the tide of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at what the offense has put up points-wise, it's obviously should have been more than enough. And I think where the real disappointment here overall from a 30,000-foot look would be the defensive side of football here, giving up into the 20s most weeks here. Now, obviously they did a number on the Browns and all like that, but I was expecting this defense to play a little bit better and obviously not give up the amount of chunk plays that they've given up right now.
Marcus Alvarado says Bud Dupree lining up in the middle really helped the run game. Yeah, that was the over front they had been running really since last year, so I'm glad I previewed that or analyzed that after the Browns game, because that was the same story versus Tennessee. I need to pull the numbers on how successful that was, but I think it had similar results to last week where the Titans really didn't have much success against the over front.
What did they run that? Another 5 times or something yesterday?
That sounds about right. I'll have to pull it up because I just finished the charting on that, but 5 to 7 sounds about right.
And if people want to learn more, they really need to check out that post that you did on in video, because it was really broken down, really easy for people to understand in that.
Thank you. And also thank you to Mark Leslie, who sends a super chat. Thank you guys for the super chats today. This might be a record for a live stream. No question, just sending Alex something to get started when he finally decides to put all his money on the Steelers winning it all. I promise those $5 will go to the Steelers Super Bowl winning it all fund.
I'm not going to tell you the ticket that I'm holding right now. I don't
Are
want
you?
to, John.
Are you?
I'm holding a ticket right now that would probably eye pop some people right
Yeah.
now concerning the Steelers for if they keep on, obviously, and finish this thing out.
All
We'll
right.
we'll see.
We'll see. Fingers crossed for you guys. Not me. Not me. Although I like this team a whole lot. They certainly have a chance here. Next question comes from Michael Galupo. Says, was Spillane wearing the green dot? And when he was off the field, who was doing the communicating? Spillane was wearing the green dot. That was confirmed by Tomlin. I do not know who was wearing it in the 14 snaps that he was off for Dime, and the couple snaps he missed with the shoulder injury. So that's a good question, Michael. I do not have an answer for you yet.
I don't yet either. And the All 22 came out. I just started watching the All 22 of the game right before we got on this, so I haven't dug that deep yet.
Jason Tatum, do you think the drop-off in James Washington snaps is because they believe teams will start to double Claypool now? No, I think it's just because, well, it's partially that. It's Claypool's playing really well, and he's a hard guy to keep off the field, so those snaps are going to come at the expense of somebody like James Washington. So it's less about the double team, but just Claypool deserves the playing time. But they're all going to get mixed in.
And plus, look, when you have him on the field in certain situations, and what they have done with him so far, especially in the running game and with the motions, that's going to draw a lot of attention right now. So that's yet another reason. And plus, I think when they're only going one wide receiver on the field, I think he's it, isn't he?
Yeah, usually in that role.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, it was really noticeable this past week, the differential between Washington and Claypool. So yeah, I think that's obviously, I don't know if we'll continue to see that large of a difference there, but I mean, it's not impossible, as I like to say.
Jonathan Barton and TJH Squad both say love the show. Thank you guys. Thank you to everyone who is here. TJH Squad also says, quick question, did you see the low blow by Tennessee on the Minka PI? I have not, but I'll go back and check that because I'm not sure what you're referencing. I know the play you're referencing. I don't know the low blow, though, unless you're saying the Corey Davis trying to pick Minka, which he kind of definitely did, and they didn't call. I mean, they certainly could have called it, but if that's what you're referring to, I saw that. If there was something else, I'm not sure. I have not seen it yet. Eli Manning's belly button. There's a name for you. Not a question, but I love what I'm seeing out of Terrell. Yeah, we have the article up right now. Terrell Edmunds feeling more confident, feeling good about his play this year, and I thought yesterday versus Tennessee might have been his best game as a professional. Let's see.
Let's see him string a couple together now.
Yeah, for sure. You want to see that continue. Mark Leslie, despite playing different positions, is there comparison in the improvement of Terrell Edmunds coming later in his rookie contract like Bud Dupree has? Hope this question makes sense. I think it does, Mark. We've talked about that. Dave and I have discussed kind of the improvement and the breakout year for Bud Dupree gave you some hope and optimism about Terrell Edmunds. Not that you would have that same level of jump, but both guys were pretty raw athletes, big lumps of clay coming out of college, underclassmen, and so yeah, I think there is a thread to connect between those guys in terms of where they came out and where they're at now. Because Bud was 24 years old last year. Edmunds is 23 right now. Those guys take a little bit of time to mature physically and mentally and get ready for the NFL.
Here's the thing: he's really going to have to turn it on still to have his fifth year option picked up.
What do you think? What do you think that looks like in terms of turning it on?
I mean, he's going to have to force a couple of fumbles and get in a position where he picks off a couple of balls, at least 3 or 4 interceptions. I think yesterday was a good start, but he's got a lot of road ahead of him the rest of this season to get in a position where they would consider picking up his fifth year option.
Yeah, but we're seeing improvement. The turnovers have not been there, but hopefully they're right around the corner because everything else seems to be going fairly well right now. Rick McKee.
I mean, think about it for a more strong safety type, if you will. not named Troy Polamalu, got to be pretty damn impressive, I think, to especially with the Steelers and as tight as they're going to be and all like that to have that 5th-year option.
No, I hear
And
you.
plus the further away from the ball,
Right. Rick McKee says, great pre, during, and post-game coverage yesterday. Thank you, Rick. Are we near limits on protections, elevations from the practice squad for anyone? If so, what are the consequences? Edmunds is up, right? He's got his 2 elevations.
I think he's had his 2 now, yeah. So and he'll revert back today, I think, obviously. But I think the next time, I don't think there is a next time. I think he just basically has to clear waivers next time.
Right. He can still get elevated the same way, but going back down, he has to then clear waivers. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So Edmunds is the 1 so far. And then I think Deon Cain has 1 elevation, and Jay Elliott has 1 elevation. I think those are the only ones they've elevated so far this year.
Right. And Mondo was a flat-out signing,
right.
I think.
Right. He was not elevated because he's still on the roster today. We'll see. Do you think he'll stay? Do you think he'll stay on the 53? They'll carry 7?
Yeah, I think it all depends on what's going to happen. But he played him a lot of special teams.
He played 17 snaps. 300 pounds.
I thought it was an error. I started to thumb through the tape a little bit. Thought, my God, Alex wasn't kidding, man.
Yeah, he was a 4-phase guy.
Yeah, I don't know who they think they had there. Tyler Matakevich or something. I don't know, but I think it all depends on Watt, on Derek Watt, Alex, and whether or not he stays on a 53.
That's fair. Judas Booth, was it necessary to cut Colquitt and go with Jordan Berry? Did Berry improve over Colquitt in the Titans game? I mean, Berry barely got the punt. He didn't do it till the second half, I believe, but had 50 yards per punt on his 2 tries. I mean, was it necessary? I mean, it wasn't going to make or break you probably, but Colquitt was struggling, and I think he wanted to get more out of that unit, and so I don't think Berry's going to change the world on that, but if he can be 25% better, then you're a little bit better as a team.
How many punts did he have in that game? 5, and 2 were inside the 20, I think, right?
Who, Berry?
Yeah.
Did he only have 2 punts? I thought he only had 2 punts yesterday.
I thought he had 5. Didn't he have 5 punts, I thought?
I mean, they turned the football over 3 times, and they didn't punt in the first half.
No. Wait. Maybe it was 2. I'm looking at something else. I think it was
2 punts for an average of 50 yards, and I think 1 was inside the 20.
I was doing some research on the Seahawks game from week 2 last year for some reason.
Okay.
Don't ask me why. I got confused of when how long that touchdown run by who was it? Penny?
You love you love talking about that play. That play still burns you up, I think.
I know it does, and for some reason I keep thinking of it as it being a 50-something. For some reason I can't convince my brain that it was under 40 yards, and because I was pulling up those, I was in those 40-yard stats there, of double explosive plays that I just reeled off that stat earlier, and I was thinking when I pulled up the results, I said, man, where's the damn Seattle run at, and so I had to go check the game book for that. I got the other one pulled up here. Berry, 2 punts, both inside the 20.
Okay, so. Good day from yesterday. Not a very taxing day, but we'll take it overall. All right, next question here. I just found it. Jonathan Barton, did anyone notice if Ben hurt his left shoulder on the Enron play? I assume that means Ebron, not the company from the early 2000s that took everyone's money. He's got up chirping at the referee for a flag. He's a tough quarterback. Yeah, I don't know what Simmons... It was a legal hit. I don't think it was a dirty hit. Maybe Simmons said something or not. I don't think Ben got hurt. He seemed to get up okay and obviously finished the game, but Ben was a little fired up, and I think threw a touchdown pass on the next play to Deontay. So whatever they said, little fire under number 7. Frat Boy Fishing, do you think we're going to see more of Cam Sutton when Mike Hilton returns? I think he's playing really strong. I agree that Sutton played really well yesterday. Are we going to see more of him? As Dave mentioned this morning on the podcast, it's just hard to envision where you carve out those snaps right now. Dave, is that kind of your assessment?
Yeah. I mean, that's still high. I mean, look, and I think you brought up a good point. There's certain situations where you can maybe get him in there, as a safety and all like that. You know where they need to get him. They need to get him in the defensive film room, probably teaching in the secondary room, teaching some tape in there, because I have yet to look at the touchdown, but there was definitely a miscommunication there between him and Minka on that short short touchdown there.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I think Sutton played. Actually, I don't know how many snaps it would have been. A handful of snaps though at safety and base with Edmunds coming off. So.
Yeah, you can kind of do the math there because Edmunds played 48 of 57.
So was it 9? 9 felt a little high. I don't know if he played all 9 as that safety. Maybe. I need to look at my charting.
You got the charting.
I know. Yeah, I'll look at it later because I don't think I can pull it up here on the live stream. But roughly 5 to 9, we'll call it as those safety snaps in base versus 11 personnel. Let's see. Next question.
Oh, you know what? One of those they counted a defensive snap. One of those was the botched punt.
Oh, did they count that?
Yeah, I believe so because you've got Minka's the only player listed with 57.
No, that's because Minka played it in. No, Minka played in goal line. They had a goal line snap, and that's why Nelson and Hayden don't have are one snap short.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah, because the punt. I don't think the punt counted because on the charting that you sent me, it doesn't have the punt listed.
Right. Well, I pulled that out.
Okay, but I know on the goal line there was one goal line. That's why Jordan Dangerfield has a snap because the one snap was in goal line and Minka was out there with a 3 safety set. Yeah.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah. Next question here, if I find it. Rory Prunella, what are the Steelers' defensive numbers when rushing 3? Seems like quarterbacks only and always make plays against us when given time in the pocket. Again, it's something I'll have to cite for my charting. I can't pull that on the fly right now, but I do get your overall point there, Rory, that the numbers probably aren't great when rushing 3.
We need to get somebody to design us a database so all that can be put in almost like an interface with we have the charting, but if what we need is somebody to build the back end of something that we can at a moment, sort it like Pro Football Reference and pop those numbers out real quick instead of having to use the Excel spreadsheets and sort them that way.
Yeah, the filter method with Excel isn't too bad though.
Sure, it's not bad, but I mean, it'd be nice just to have, you know what I'm saying.
I got you. David Kapoor says Dave's Anvil and Three Amigos references keep me coming back to the terrible podcast. So you found your market, Dave.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody gets that stuff. I'm getting to the age now where I rattle some of this stuff off and think that, I feel like everybody should know it, but then I look around and not many people do. So at least there's still a segment out there that still gets some of these older references. The 80s don't seem that far away from me still, but evidently it's like the 1940s to most people.
We just went over 100 people in the chat too, so thank you very much for that. I have a question here from the last style bender. Lamar and the Ravens struggle when they have a huge rest period, hoping we catch them sleeping. We'll see, but I mean the Ravens at home with some rest, not coming off a physical game like Pittsburgh is versus Tennessee. What's Baltimore open? 5-point favorites?
I think it opened at like 6 or so, and I think it's already been worked down to close to 3 already at some places here. Yeah, so yeah, and look, a 3-point home field advantage. I mean, this thing will probably be right around 3.5 points by the time it goes off.
Yeah. Jaskaran Singh says, do you think we should trade for Avery Williamson from the Jets so that we don't have to use many different sub-packages? I really would not trade for Williamson. I don't know what he's going to give you that a Spillane would not give you.
You got to think, too, even if you go after a guy like Davis, I don't think they picked up his 5th-year option, right? So,
that's a good thing to me because that's guaranteed now, isn't it?
What's that?
Aren't the 5th-year options now guaranteed? Had it been picked up hypothetically?
Right. I believe so.
Yeah, so I'm glad it wasn't picked up.
Right, but anyway, what I'm getting at here is he'd be a 1-year rental, you know?
I'd be okay with that. I wouldn't be opposed. Obviously, the price would have to be right, and I think Davis would be an option on dime if he felt like UG3 couldn't get the job done. That'd be the only reason to trade, I think, for a linebacker right now is for some sort of dime type guy.
Plus, what would you give up? What would you have to give up to get a former first-round pick for a 1-year rental?
I don't think it'd be much, but a 7th, honestly, is probably all I would do.
But I mean, surely they could get more. Maybe they can't. I don't know. I think they get more than a 7th for that. Jeez.
I mean, what did Marcus Golden just go for? Like a 6th? I mean, and he's got some resume. He's got some NFL tape, some good tape out there. So I don't know. Either way, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's all a moot point. MW, I was hoping Tomlin would approve Ben being aggressive, but say we cannot give up almost a 2 field goals that Boz is kicking. Your thoughts? I assume that's in reference to the the interception to Juju. Again, I think the throw was bad. I think the decision was fine. If Ben completes that to Juju, that game is over. If you kick the field goal, it's still a touchdown game. Titans score, they win the game. I get that decision by Ben, and I'm honestly okay with it.
Yeah, and I haven't looked really at it on the All-22, but I mean, I've looked at enough of it on the TV tape that it's just one of those things that there's that kind of throw and looking at it in slow-mo and all, it's going to be so results biased. I mean, if he catches it, we're hailing, most people are probably going to say, what a dime by Ben, what a great catch by Juju. I mean, you're going to be all over the gamut with the results on that. And also, look, I mean, it hit him in the hands. It could have been a better pass, absolutely. And I'm not, look, I'm a little bit critical because I wanted points there. The single worst thing that could have happened there happened, and that's a turnover. But you can't let the results influence the decision, especially based on where the ball was at. The guy made a great play on it, okay, working, playing through the catch point there. And even if that ball's knocked away and it doesn't get intercepted and they still get points there, is it a matter of discussion?
No, it's not.
So, it lets you know that you just can't look at everything at black and white and success and not success,
Yeah. Tucker Cable, thought about this listening to the podcast today. When was the last time a team was -3 or worse in turnover margin and beat a team that was 5-0 or better? Alex, is that something you could look up? I could. I imagine there are very few instances of that. There just aren't a lot of 5-0 teams to start with. So that's a very specific stat, but I imagine it's pretty uncommon.
Look, they were begging for the L.
They did their best.
They tried their best. How's the saying go? They tried their best to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
There you go. They tried to give the game away, and Tennessee said, no thank you. You can keep it. Frat Boy Fishing, not sure who you guys know who Jim Cornette is, but Dave sounds awfully like Jim Cornette. Do you know who that is?
Isn't he a wrestling... I think I've heard the name before. So I think he's kind of one of the... I'll look real quick. I'll cheat on the Google machine.
Do not know.
He let's see. Worked in the professional industry as an agent, booker, color commentator, manager, promoter, trainer. Yeah, I know who Cornette is.
Richard Hudspeth, is there such a thing of just plain running out of playbook? For instance, you can run 70 plays. I'm not sure every person on offense knows the playbook that deep. What do you think, Dave? Can you run out of plays?
Here's the thing. A lot of what you see during any NFL game is, probably a selection of maybe about 20 or 25 plays. It's all about the lipstick that you put on the pig,
For sure.
You vary up the personnel, you vary up, the grouping, maybe the route combinations there. So it's when people say, it's just learning mostly when people say you come over and you got to learn the terminology and what they call this and call that. It's not as deep of rocket surgery as most people think, right? There's probably a good base of I think they probably put in, about 25, 30 plays a week and then just dress those things up.
Yeah, I mean, I can't give super specific answers. That's a very good question. But yeah, I mean, as you said, I think that's a lot about being able to run some of your base stuff out of different looks. Their Hank concept, for example, their curl flat combination can be run out of any personnel grouping, really any sort of formation. So it's, as you said, the way you dress it up is just as important as the actual play you're running.
Right, and a lot if you look at these call sheets that they have, they're based on situation, score, down, distance, place on the field, spot, position of the hash mark, all those kind of things kind of influence a little bit. Now, is that a job I would ever want to do on the fly like that? Absolutely not. But I don't think it's as intricate maybe as people think overall? It would be a great question that never gets asked, to ask Randy or Canada or even Tomlin, how many actual plays do you work on? Because let's face it, how many plays can a team run in practice with the NFLPA rules and all nowadays,
Very true. Very good point there. So good question there from Richard. I think that's a very good answer, Dave. And moving on to the next one here, MW says, how do you get the All-22? You have to subscribe to NFL Game Pass, and you can get it that way. Mike Adesso says, who would you have spy Lamar this week? Minka, Cam, Sutton, Edmunds, or UG3? Probably UG3 will do a lot of that in dime, but again, I know you're not saying this, Mike, but I think a lot of people think to slow down Lamar or stop Lamar is, just spy him. If that was the solution to stopping Lamar Jackson, that would have been done a long time ago. But this guy is so good, he can make basically anyone miss in the open field. You better do a lot more in your plan of slowing down Lamar Jackson than just saying put a spy on him, because that alone will not get the job done.
I wonder if they're going to bring in. They got here. Here's the thing. Here is where bringing Josh Dobbs back might pay dividends this week. And I got kind of crushed for keep bringing that up after they brought Josh Dobbs back. But one of the key elements, I think, one of the pluses was having him for Ravens week be able to emulate a guy like Lamar Jackson. So you can bet Joshua Dobbs is going to be a busy man this week.
Yeah, for sure. And last year in Week 17, Lamar did not play in this game. The Steelers defense used that mesh charge where they would attack the quarterback, even if he handed the football off, just to ensure that Lamar did not really ever have the ability or the option to run with the football. So we'll see if they do that versus Lamar last year versus RG3. So very interested to see what the approach is going to be in that cat and mouse game.
A lot of people forget they did a great job against him in Week 5 last year. They really did a good job against Lamar Jackson last year, and obviously didn't. They had really. Juju holds on to that football late in that football game. Duck probably gets them another 12 yards. They probably win that game. So look, both teams are obviously going to learn from that game as well too. But if you think back to that game, they did a really good job on Lamar in that game.
Or if Ola doesn't get called for roughing the passer on that final drive, either of those plays probably turns it in the Steelers' favor. Yeah, great point. Steelers did as good a job against Lamar as basically any defense did last season. Judas Booth, was the long touchdown catch by A.J. Brown mainly the fault of Minka? I thought he took a bad angle, and it was his responsibility to make that tackle. Dave, I saw you tweeting about it before the live stream.
Right, pull that up for the folks on the screen there.
Is that on
Jamie?
Is that on?
It's in my Twitter feed.
In your Twitter feed?
Yeah, it's in my Twitter feed.
See what comes up here on my Twitter feed. Yeah, but while I'm pulling it up, explain kind of your take on that play.
After looking at the end zone view on it, that Vince had to hear that. I didn't realize how close that came to Vince and was thrown on the other side of Vince also. Vince liked to got a hand on it, and I think that Minka thought that ball was going to come on the other. I think he was waiting for the pass to come on the other side of Vince, not thinking that it was going to. I think he was still trying to find the football and didn't think that the ball was going to go on that side of Vince that it came on. And I just think it just threw the whole timing and his angle off and all like that. And Vince almost had that thing. That thing just went right by his right ear.
Yeah, it's crazy how close it was. Vince ducked almost ducked kind of sort of because he just whizzed right past. And yeah, very close play. But Minka's either way, I think Minka's got to make that tackle at the very least.
Sure he does. But I mean, do you understand? If you look at that in real time, do you kind of see where maybe Minka's maybe waiting that half second, think that ball's going to come on the other side of Vince?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I get it, but. Again, I don't think
I'm not excusing him. You got to get that guy down on the ground, whatever way, and probably take a little bit better angle, obviously. But I think that view makes it a little. Hopefully, people can see that on the video there. But it makes it. It's not excusing it, but I can kind of understand why Minka's reaction was the way it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you.
Fitz did a great job of getting almost there. I mean, if he gets a hand up or one direction, one way, that he knocks that thing down.
Game of inches, as they say, and it certainly was on that play. Hung low. Why not make the over front the base defense if it's so successful? It's usually only done against multiple tight end sets or two back with a fullback in, so it's largely dictated by what the offense does. So that's why it's not your base, and plus it's just a good wrinkle to add in as a changeup on your base defense. Rory Pernella, are you concerned at all about our mid to deep passing game if teams are able to take away our quick hitting underneath game? I think this team's versatile to do both. I think the deep ball's been improving, so I mean, you never want to rely solely on that, but I think with the balance of the run game and the weapons to win over the top, no, it's not a big concern for me.
You would like to see Ben start hitting a little bit better downfield still. And I kind of go back to 2018 first half of the season. He wasn't great. Wasn't great with the deep ball, but he warmed up, and obviously he probably still learning a little bit about his arm, or elbow and all like that. So, look, if he's not going to be afraid to go deep, especially if he sees a one deep safety and a press, a man press type situation on either side, whoever it is, whether it be Juju running out of the slot, all like that. I mean, he's begging opposing defenses right now, I think, to basically not play zone and too deep. And I think I think you saw the Titans do that because the Titans just knew that, look, if we run a lot of press man about him, we're going to open ourselves up to a guy like Deontay. And I think they probably watched a little bit of film from last year on Deontay. Deontay's thinking, look, this guy just ain't a normal X slant receiver. This guy can take the top off too. So I think they're big onus to the Titans in that game. And Alex, I think you really pointed this out even before the game as well too. Is they play a lot of zone in that defense, a lot of two-man zone, and a lot of two-man man.
Yeah, and it lent itself to throwing short. You really just could not throw deep. That's why Claypool and Washington were so quiet, and why Deontay and Juju and Ebron had such big games yesterday. Blitzberg77 is not happy about the OPI on the 3rd and 2 before the Juju, the Ben interception to Juju at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's
I think
tough.
I didn't see Samuels do anything. I mean, he was turning back to Ben, basically.
So, yeah, that's a bad ticky-tack call. He's got a right to be able to run his route, I think, out of there,
Yeah, but what are you going to do? At least it didn't cost you the game. Numel says, hi, Alex. Hi, Numel. Let's see, I'm trying to find some more recent questions here. Your boy 52 says Ben was jawing at Simmons after that hit because he was putting all his weight on Ben when he was getting up purposely trying to injure him. Yeah, I mean, it was a hard hit for sure. I did think it was a legal hit though, so whatever that's worth. Mark Leslie, being from Scotland, college football isn't covered much over here, and I know nothing about it. What should I be looking at with an eye to the draft? Dave, what are some draft tips for Mark?
Oh, wow, man. Just try to watch as much as you can, That's, even our own Ross McCorkle asked me today, via DMs, what kind of tips, to help improve his tape learning and breaking down tape and all. And it's just one of those things. You just got to keep watching tape, So as far as breaking down, try to look for the athleticism. Try to look for the kid that stands out. And it's a lot harder to do, especially with guys in the secondary on TV tape, okay? But just try to find the guys that, like the receivers that are able to get off and beat man coverage, press man kind of situation there. The backs that make people miss in the backfield, if you will, is another thing. Edge rushers and their ability to use counters. I mean, that's just a starting point there. I mean, we could go hours on this and not even cover everything. It's just one of those things, I think, that the more tape that you watch, the better you get at watching tape. Does that make sense?
It does. And take notes. Write stuff down. If you try to not take notes and just watch it all, you will not remember a thing. It will get so jumbled up. It'll be 2 months ago you watched this guy. You will not keep track of it all. So if you watch stuff, take notes.
Look, I mean, you just 2 years ago, I mean, I've learned so much in just like the past 2 years, and I've been doing this a long time, you know. You learn something every year and all. And look, the thing that college football can do to help us out and help them see themselves out is have some sort of all 22 service that's similar to Game Pass. I would pay $1,000 a year tomorrow for it, and I think they're really missing the boat here. So hopefully at some point we'll have such a service. We obviously get a strong flow of it on Steelers Depot through various sources, but it would be great to be able to pull any game up on a moment's notice and go to a certain player or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it would make a ton of money for the NCAA.
Sure would.
They
ton.
Probably, I don't know.
They probably don't realize it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's a whole that we have to then compensate players thing. I don't know. It's one of those things, but I'm sure college football could probably use an infusion of cash right now, just given the whole climate, and that'd be a good avenue. But what do we know? Jeff,
even if they did it by conference, I mean, you could make it a conference. That way, someone who's a nut like you and I would have to have 15 subscriptions.
True. And it would go to the conference. It wouldn't be this NCAA umbrella thing for them to distribute. Anyway, Jeff Smecker, question for Dave. I know you love the adjusted net yard stat. Can you explain what it is and why do you think so much of it? How does that stat translate to play on the field for a defense?
Yeah, look, it's a stat, and look, Google adjusted net yards per passing attempt in Pro Football Reference, and it'll take you to the page where it shows the formula. It's just a stat, and it's exactly what it says. It's an adjusted. We've had net yards per pass. We've had average net yards or average per pass attempt for forever. That used to be the hot stat, like 7-8 years ago. Now what you have is what's called an adjusted number, and it takes in account sacks and interceptions, everything related to the passing game there. And as far as the relevance goes, I think if you just look at the historical aspect of it, as it relates to teams that make the playoffs and teams that ultimately go on to win the Super Bowl, especially on the defensive side of the ball, it's got relevance, man. And especially, look, I mean, through we're at that point now. We're starting next week. I'll start writing about it because a sample size from the first 5 or 6 weeks really can get skewed by one bad game or good game either way. When you get past around that 6 or 7 game mark, then of course one game's not skewing the results or so at that point. So I really think it's a great barometer to measure defenses, and obviously it has nothing to do with the run, but today's NFL is more about the passing game than it is the running game anyway. So I mean, look, I've written about it. Search SteelersDepot.com for the past articles that I've had related to historical aspects to it. And obviously when you take the offensive number and the defensive number and you find a differential of the two, that's got a lot of relevance in it as well too.
Yeah, and certainly we'll be hearing about that stat. And Pittsburgh, do you know where they're at post-Titans game on that stat?
5.1, I think, on defensive side of football, and I think down to 6.8, I think it was, on the offensive side of football. Look, those interceptions are going to hurt. I don't care how you get them, they hurt. But they still got a good differential. I think their differential is something like 1.4 right now, which is obviously still good enough.
Very good indeed. Kendall Douglas says, my early prediction, Steelers 28, Ravens 17. So I hope you're right, Kendall. Double H8 says, I have a gut feeling it's a shootout, like 41-35 level scoring. Let's see. Judas Booth, do you expect to see J.J. Watt on the Steelers next year? The Texans will likely release him, and this may be his only chance for all three Watt brothers to be on the same team. I don't think it's likely the Texans release him. He's got a big contract, doesn't he? And I don't think that's going to be in the cards, as cool as that may be, Judas.
Yeah, I can't see it happening.
Mark Leslie, do you guys have an all-time favorite Steelers play? Dave, I'll start with you on this one.
Oh, what, the old Ride 38? Anything with a pulling guard, running the power, just some of that old traditional power running. I love guards on the move.
For me, I took it as one moment, a specific play.
But
I mean, he
okay.
may be meaning one play that's run over and over. I'm not sure, but do you have one particular play if that's how I'm interpreting it?
I'm still fascinated by the Immaculate Reception after all these years. Every December when that rolls around, I spend 15-20 minutes going back over that tape again. just fascinated with whether or not Frenchie and the
Tatum.
ball hit and Tatum and trying to find out who that ball hit first and everything related to that. I mean, how can you not? I mean, that's obviously one of the most famous plays in Steelers history. Look, the Santonio Holmes touchdown, Ben Santonio in the Super Bowl is another one that will forever be etched. Z-Scat, what was that? What was the name of that play?
I don't remember the name that they called it, but it was a good one. Yeah, I think most Steeler fans of my generation would probably say this Antonio Holmes touchdown is probably number one for me, and just immaculate reception is probably the most popular choice for the older generation. To me, though, the play that always sticks out is Bradshaw to Stallworth to win the last Super Bowl in '79 to beat the Rams. Just that touchdown, that rainbow throw over the outside shoulder. Stallworth catches it in stride and races into the end zone, just like a poetic play of the evolution of the dynasty from a very run-oriented, defensive-minded approach, which it still was in part in '79, but airing it out by those last two victories to complete the dynasty. To me, where those plays and those moments really stuck out to me.
I mean, I have spent way too much time on that San Antonio Holmes play before. 70. Hold on a minute here. 74 Scat Flasher Z level.
Okay, that's the name of the call.
That's the name of the play. Remember, they ran that twice during that game as well, too, and that was the one that Ben did the fantastic job of throwing the football away. And that was the same play that they went back third quarter of that Super Bowl, 3:44 left, third and goal. They ran that same play, and that's the one where Ben almost got tackled for the sack, and he threw the ball out of bounds outside the tackle box. And then, of course, they went back to it in the fourth quarter on the San Antonio Holmes touchdown.
Yeah. So, is that the play for you? Is that kind of the one moment that sticks out? Is it still immaculate reception? Could still be that play.
Yeah. I mean, immaculate reception. But I mean, if you want to talk about one planned play that obviously what was successful, the touchdown Holmes in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
sure.
For me, it's still Bradshaw to Stallworth. Aiden Duffy, why did you think we didn't see a lot of Claypool that game? He played a good bit. It's just the Titans, as Dave mentioned earlier, played a lot of too high, did not really allow the deep ball to be tested, and so that's not going to help out Claypool whenever you really can't get the ball vertical too often.
I think you're going to see that throughout the season, a different flavor of ice cream every week.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Juju was back in week 1. Obviously, you had a couple of games there with Claypool. James Washington had a big game a couple of games ago, and then you had Deontay was the hot guy this past week. So that's a good problem to have.
Mike Adesso says, Dave, speaking of college athletes that stand out, that tight end from Florida would look really nice in black and gold. Any thoughts on that's Kyle Pitts, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't gone deep. I mean, I obviously know who he is right now at this point. How can you not? Because he scores like 2 touchdowns every week there. I haven't gotten into deep into his tape at all. I mean, I know the names of several of these kids right now, but not enough to talk about him. Obviously, he's going to be a hot commodity. I think there's a couple of good ones, at least on surface. The Penn State tight end, Pat Freiermuth, but I think there's like 2 other tight ends that are going to deserve some deep dives here at some point. But unfortunately, there's just not enough hours in the day right now. We'll obviously start diving into that. Hopefully, late into February because of the Steelers winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. A couple more questions here before we wrap up the stream. As a reminder, Dave and I are here every Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time every week. 98671X says, was that an illegal pick on Minka at the goal line when he got called for pass interference? I think it was pretty questionable. If they would have thrown a flag there, I would have not disagreed with it. But tough play there.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that on all 22 yet either.
Corey Davis definitely moves that way, but there wasn't a ton of contact, so I don't know. Casey Young, do you think Dotson deserves more playing time from his play filling in for DeCastro? Where are you going to play him? You're going to bench Filer and put Dotson at left guard where he's never played before? You're not going to do that, and of course you're not going to bench David DeCastro. So his play deserves it, but there's just no home for him right now. Just good depth. Hard Punk Core, haven't seen that name in a while. Glad you're here, Dave. Is it time for the ANYA stat article? You said that is coming up, right?
Yeah, we'll probably wait until after the Ravens game here. That way we'll have a good subsection of 7 games at that point for the Steelers. Had the Steelers played 7 games already, I would get busy on that. But I think this next week will be the perfect time, especially after a good test, back-to-back test in from the Titans and the Ravens there. So it's coming.
Brandon Hatcher, throws over the middle seem to be the defensive weakness. Is there a way to contain the run and middle of the field? I don't know if that's a weakness. I mean, I know the A.J. Brown play came over the middle, but I think that's actually been pretty good over the middle of the field. So I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
I mean, obviously they got beat early in the season on the Giants. Deep touchdowns, more towards the middle of the field. But I mean, as far as intermediate middle of the field, I think for the most part they're doing a fairly good job on that.
Yeah, I do too.
Just tackle the catch.
Yeah, for sure. Face Windu, at this point, would you draft a punter in this upcoming draft? You made a prediction. Would I call that a prediction on Twitter about that?
Go ahead and write that one down.
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance they're going to have to do something to address it more long term. Cole Aikens, the Steelers barely won last week because of turnovers. What adjustments do you think they can make to maintain their leads? Yeah, don't turn the football over. That's a very analytical answer I'm going to give you there, Cole.
They asked for it. They certainly asked for it. I thought, like I said on the podcast this morning, man, about that 9-minute mark or whatnot. I think of the fourth quarter, I thought that was going to be an L.
2 more questions here. Casey Young, when they put, it was just more of a comment, but an extension of the last question, when they put in an eligible lineman, it wasn't Dotson in the last game, specifically where I think, you're talking about Gerald Hawkins being the 6th offensive lineman. Generally, this team goes with a tackle in those situations because it's a little bit more comfortable in terms of the space they're playing in. Hubbard, Villanueva, Chooks, and Hawkins have all kind of manned that role, so usually tackles become the 6th offensive lineman.
Nice reach block by him on that touchdown run.
Very good block. And the last question from Donovan Mahaffey. Would you guys say this year's offense is better than any of the years with Brown and Bell? That 2017 offense was pretty good. I don't know if this offense quite touches it yet. Still a ways to go. Some young guys working together, but it's a pretty good offense. There's no doubt about that, Dave.
Yeah, just you'd like to see the deep ball. The running game's been good so far. Have nice success rate so far with a running game. The only thing is you just like a little bit higher percentage with Ben connecting more than 15 yards down the field.
And Mike Camp says, did Chooks exit the game or did he come back? I don't think Chooks ever left the game.
He's short 1 snap, and I didn't see when that happened.
That's weird.
So I didn't see it, and I haven't got the charting back from Tom yet either. So he was short. He played 78 snaps, and the rest of them played 79. So I have not found what happened and when it happened. I did not catch it in the TV tape.
Does anyone else have 1 snap? Does any lineman have just 1 snap?
No, Hawkins has 5.
Well, I guess Hawkins probably it could have filled in there, so
right. When we wouldn't know because he was used tackle. He was used eligible. So
okay. I think Tom might have just sent the charting in. I don't know. Maybe I thought I got an email about it, but we'll check that after. But either way, Okorafor came back. He finished the game, so he should be fine. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's stream. Thank you so much. A great crowd on hand today. Over 100 people consistently for the last half hour of the show, so really appreciate that. Thank you to everyone who sent in a super chat. Be sure to like the stream if you could, just to help give it more visibility for now and in the future. And Dave, as always, thanks for being here with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for everybody for coming. Peace and love, everybody.
All right, we will be back next Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.